If your business feels scattered, like you're duct taping tools and people and processes together, this video is your fix. I'm going to show you how to organize everything into a very simple and scalable map. You're not going to need expensive, fancy software. I'm not going to pitch you on anything like that. It's not going to take 6 months to do this. It's very, very simple and easy. And if your systems right now are living in your head, or maybe they're on some sticky notes or 17 browser tabs that you happen to have open, and some people have 50, I don't know how they do it. This video will become your blueprint for turning chaos into clarity, and you're going to understand it by the time we get to the end of our time together. So stick around. I'll show you the exact framework that I use to organize entire companies without feeling overwhelmed. I'm Brett from brettcpayne.com, and my job really is to help growth stage founders like you probably build scalable systems really without losing their sanity in the process of doing it. I want it to be simple for you. And today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on what I call the systems master map. It's a way to structure every system in your business so you're not going to have to worry about things getting dropped again or forgotten or duct taped ever again. You know what that feels like trying to fix it very quickly, right? So let's build this together. I'm going to give you a few elements that you need in order to build it. The first element is what I call the pillars. There are 5 of them. Know what you are systemizing. So a lot of people try to do these systems, but they don't even know what the end result is. They don't know what they're trying to build. So here's how I break it down really into 5 categories. You can add more if you want to, but start with these. The first pillar that you want to try to systemize are your operations. Like, how are things getting done in your business? We call these SOPs and standard operating procedures, right? But you look at the actual activities of your business and you want to make sure that you address that pillar of operations. The second pillar that you want to address is the pillar of culture, how people behave and how they grow inside of your organization. Think about how you do that, how you encourage them, strengthen them, teach them, train them, those kinds of things. The third pillar is communication. How does information flow back and forth between you and maybe team members or staff or vendors or things like that? There's lots of tools for these kinds of things, but you want to make sure that you've addressed this clearly with communication. The fourth one is going to be leadership. How are decisions being made? Now, if you're a one-person, band, and I always have this vision in my head of, the guy with the drums and the cymbals and the trumpet, and he's doing everything, right? A lot of us founders are like that at the very beginning. Maybe that you have 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 50 people working for you, but you've got to decide the leadership role, like how is the information being processed and passed down to people? And then the last pillar is your sales and marketing, how the money comes in, right? How are you doing customer acquisition? How are you selling your service or your product? How are you getting revenue for your company to grow? And your job as a CEO, as a founder, is to identify which pillar is causing the mess and start there. And again, you can have lots of pillars, but go back through the 5 that I just mentioned. Start with one of those, figure out which one is causing the most problem for you right now, and then address it. Element number 2, the layers. Organize from the top down. So you want to think about your systems like layers of a map. The first layer is the function, like client onboarding, right? So what is that layer of organization? So the first is the function. Then you've got the processes. So you know what it's supposed to do. You know how to achieve that, the processes, that's the layer. And then the third one is the tools. Where does it live? Where do you actually do this thing? So let's take client onboarding, for instance. So you know that's the function. I want to bring a new client into my business. Well, then what I want to do is I want to talk about the steps of what that takes to get them onboarded. And then I go, okay, what is the tool that I want my staff to use in order to make sure we don't miss anything? I can tell you with me, we like to use Asana. That's one of our kind of go-to project management systems. I'll tell you the reason why. It's free. So I have used Asana for years, and I'm sure there's a lot of features out there that are great when you have the paid version. And I would encourage people to do that to really explore everything that Asana offers. But if you don't have the money for that right now, just use the free version. You'll do just fine, okay? And then finally, the last thing in that process is going to be the documentation. You've got to have a way to show your team, we'll use client onboarding again, what the function is, what the process is, the tool they're going to use, and you're going to document that for them. And you can do that with SOPs, and I talk about that a little bit later. When you map from the top down, just like I just described, you're never going to lose sight of the big picture. Everything will have its place. If you are serious about building a sustainable business that doesn't need you 24/7, hit subscribe. The reason is because I share weekly videos just like this one to help you scale. And I want to have you do it without the stress. A lot of the stress that I carried when I scaled my businesses, I want to remove that for you and make it very simple. Element number 3, the truth filter. Keep what works and cut what clutters. Not everything you created needs to be kept. That's something that's very difficult for us as founders or for people who start businesses, is that we have these things that we start and they kind of sit with us like a legacy, but I would call them a negative legacy. It's like a cinder block that's tied to you because you've always done it that way, right? It's okay to cut it out, okay? Not everything that you have created needs to be kept. I have so many of these things because one of the things, if you know anything about me, is that I start and run franchises. That's kind of one of the main things that I do. Well, in those franchises, we have to come up with like lots of different functions for our franchisees. The franchise I started was called Contender Esports, or is called Contender Esports. And we have locations around the country where people come to play video games, right? Well, that used to be just casually coming to play video games, but then we had to add in tournaments and Fortnite Friday. I hope I'm not losing you with some of these things. Call of Duty events. We became STEM accredited, so we're doing education pieces now. Then we're doing mentoring. Then we're having Fortnite academies. There's on and on and on. And sometimes those things have a season where they live, they work, and then you go, wait a second, this isn't working anymore. I'm going to let that one just go away for a little bit. I know it feels painful to do that in your business, but it's okay to do it. You keep what works and you cut out the clutter. If a system isn't saving you time, and when I'm talking about systems, that system might be a system for an offering, a service, or a product. If it's not saving you time, if it's not making you money, and it's not empowering your team, it's not a system, it's clutter. Get rid of it. Okay. It's okay just to let it go. This is your moment to reset. Build only what serves your business, the business that you're becoming, right? You've got to have a vision for where you're going, not the one you were 6 months ago. Who cares about that? Get a clear vision of where you're going and then build the business towards that. Let me ask you something. What's one system in your business right now that feels the most scattered? Like it's just not coming together. Drop that in the comments for me and let's tackle that together. And when I say together, I mean you and me. Let's jump on that together, okay? Element number 4, the flow path. Document as you go. Here's the shortcut I wish I had earlier. Don't schedule a systems day. Just don't do, I know you want to do that. Don't do that. Just document what you're already doing. Don't try to go figure out like what are all my systems. Just think about what are you doing today, right? What are you doing this week? What's one of the big things? And then document what you're doing so that you have it to transfer to somebody else. Every time you explain a task, you train somebody new, record it. I go to a lot of meetings. I grab my phone and I say to my staff members or people that I'm with, can I hit record real quickly? I record it on my phone. I take that recording and I can get the transcription from that and I'll drop that into Google Drive or a Google Doc or sometimes Notion, things like that. And by the way, if you record on an iPhone and you use the Voice Memos app, the latest updates that have come out recently, let's say, auto transcribe your voice memos. So if you have an iPhone and you didn't know that you had that tool on there, just search for voice memos. It's on there, big red button at the bottom. You hit record in these meetings. If you're on Android, there's another tool that's also free on your phone. Hit record, and they, by default now, will give you the transcriptions. Just copy that transcription and then drop it into a Google Doc or something like that, because that ultimately can become your SOP. It's developed as you're actually training people or teaching people. You're not having to sit in a room and like type these things out. If you want my exact method about how to do this without ever typing, grab my free guide. I make it super easy for you. I know I told you like the big picture idea, but I make it really simple for you in my free guide called How to Create SOPs Without Typing. It's how I turn voice notes into scalable systems. I do it very, very, very fast. The link is in the description for you. The next element is the rhythm. Keep it alive, not static. A system, when you build it in a structure, it's only useful if it stays relevant, right? And things change. Software changes, processes change, vendors change, sometimes customers change, right? So you've got to adjust the system for that. That's why I use what we call a quarterly cleanup. Now, about every 90 days or so, my staff gets together and we review what seems to be outdated and what's missing, things that aren't working. It's very simple, but it's powerful to do that. because your system isn't static. Things do change over time. Now, as I tell you about this quarterly cleanup, I don't want you to think that that's the end result for how we keep our systems really regulated, really clean. The way that we actually do that is that everybody who is in a particular role, they have the SOPs that are assigned to them, and they know that part of their job is to keep those updated on a daily basis, weekly basis. Something changes, they do it live. They don't wait for the quarter to show up. So it's all happening naturally, and that's how we've trained our staff in different companies. But we also have these quarterly cleanups where we come together as the full staff and say, what's a big change that's happening? What's really not working? Because sometimes those dynamics in your systems, they integrate with other roles and other systems, then everyone has to kind of pitch in on that. Now that you've seen how these systems work together, the next move is to get them out of your head, right? Like, you understand the idea, but we've got to get your systems out of your head and into something that your team can run. I've got the perfect free guide to help you with that. It's called How to Create SOPs Without Typing, and it'll show you how to document your processes using just your phone, and also we use AI to do that. I'll show you how to do that. You don't have to overthink it. It's not going to be overwhelming. Click on the link in the description and you can start building your business manual literally this weekend. You can do it. It's not that difficult. I'll show you how with that guide. Just use the link in the description, because I have a saying, and I say it a lot: until it's documented, it does not exist.